good people, Samurai Lee here, back for another fight talk. Today is the morning after the night before. Callum Smith, obviously very impressive in his destruction of Mahmoudi and winning the European title and becoming the mandatory challenger for Badou Jack's WBC super middleweight title. So, you know, very impressive. Look, you know, brilliant. He couldn't really have predicted he would do such a good job, such a quick job on such an experienced fighter. So he came through that test with flying colours. My only concern, really, you know, we haven't seen him tested, but till he gets to the world stage, you know, he's not really going to be tested. I think he's that good. So it'll be interesting to see when he gets there just how good he is and how he can stand up to a bit of punishment. And you know, when he comes through, he'll have to come through a little bit of adversity, but you know, he's got all the tools there. He's got the reach, he's got the height, you know, and he's got that raw punching power that you need at that level. And I think he's going to be a big player on the world stage. I hope he doesn't wait for Badou Jack. There's big talk. Obviously, Badou Jack fights at the end of April, and James DeGale fights on the same card. And there's big talk that they're going to fight for a unification fight in September in London, which would keep Callum Smith out of the ring till December or January next year. At this stage, 25 years old, 19 fights in, I don't think it would be wise for him to stay, wait, by this time and wait for a big fight like that. I'd much prefer him to stay active, have another fight in the meantime around the same time. You know, I'm sure George Groves would like to prove that everyone sort of pushed him aside and put Callum Smith way above him in the rankings now. I'm sure Callum, believes he can beat George Groves as everyone else does, but I'm sure deep down George Groves believes he's experienced enough and he's been around the block enough to be able to take the young pretender out. So I'd like to see that fight, maybe throw that in September around the same time. If a unification between DeGale and Jack happens, that would be a big fight, be a very interesting fight as well. So I'd like to see that. A couple of other fights last night. You had Rocky Fielding's return after being demolished by Callum Smith. He came up against Christopher Rabras, who we know has fought here against Groves and Smith. I thought Rabras won the fight. He had Fielding down early on. I think it was the second round. It was a very split. I think it was a split decision. It was very tight, but I had Rabras winning by just 2 or 3 rounds. He's a fighter that's always going to put you under immense pressure. He pushes forward, he comes forward. He's not a massive puncher, but he's always in your face, and he likes to cause, he doesn't like you to box at range. He won't give you any time to rest, and so he's a very good fighter, and I believe he won the fight. I think Rocky was lucky to come away with a split decision there. But a win's a win, I suppose, at this stage, so he believes he can now move onwards and upwards. I'm not convinced he's going to do a lot more. I think that's probably his level. But it'll be interesting to see how he fares moving forward. The rematch that I was looking forward to, Scott Cardle and Sean Dodd, that was a good fight. That came out as a draw. Scott Cardle kept his title. Scott Cardle's got the head movement, he's got the feet movement, he gets in and out. Problem was, he got caught quite a few times. I believe Dodd caught him, and I think he nicked just about 6 or 7 of the rounds I would have given to Dodd. It was a very tight decision. 2 judges give it as a draw. 1 gave it to Scotty Cardle, meaning he keep his title on a majority draw. But I think Sean Dodd might have done just enough to steal it off him. But it's very, very close fight. One that I'm sure they'll put on again. The fans like it. It's a fight that creates interest, and styles make fights, and they're very well suited to one another. I think they came up and they make good fights. So it makes sense to see it again. That Sky Sports show was started off by the Tom Doran. He beat Luke Keeler in an explosive fight. There was no defence shown by either fighter. Keeler had him down early on in the first, and just to be knocked down himself later in the first, and then finished off by Doran in the second in the middleweight title fight. I think it was for a vacant middleweight title somewhere. It's not one of those that really means a lot on the world stage, but again, it's getting their name out there, and Doran stays undefeated, and explosive puncher, big punching power, needs to work on his defence as he moves up the levels. But he came through the test, second round, good fight, and his name's now out there. People now know who he is more. So yeah, very good night of fights there on Sky Sports last night. I enjoyed them all. Yeah, and I can't wait till next Saturday. Obviously, I'll be doing a more in detail preview of next Saturday, the Anthony Joshua and Charles Martin IBF heavyweight title fight. That's a big, massive card. Lots of fights on that to go through, so I'll be looking forward to talking about that later in the week. Last thing I want to touch on today is John Jones in the UFC. Obviously, was due to fight Daniel Cormier, and Cormier's had an injury and they've had to pull him out of the fight, unfortunately, for the 23rd of April. They've replaced Cormier at short notice with Ovin St. Preux. Not a great, a fighter that a lot of people know a lot about. I remember him knocking Shogun out a few years ago, but he's sort of a win-lose sort of fighter. Not very consistent, not a massive name, but it's a good opportunity for him. I think we're all pretty certain John Jones is going to be way too much for St. Preux, and he's going to come out and put on a show ready for when Cormier's fit again, because he wants his title back. So looking forward to seeing that one in a few weeks' time as well. So thanks for watching, guys.